The Gospel called Mark has no Christmas stories. No account of the birth and infancy of Jesus. Why? The Gospel called Mark likewise never mentions Joseph, the father of Jesus. Why? Joseph is not mentioned in any document originating before 70 Common Era. Paul doesn't know Joseph. And Joseph is missing in the Gospel called Mark. In the New Testament documents originating after 70 Common Era, reference is made to Joseph, to his righteousness, to his Davidic ancestry, to his dream and the angel's conversation with him, to his holy marriage to the socially perceived impure Mary, to his trip into Egypt with his family, and to his trip to the temple with Mary and Jesus. Context group scholar Andries van Aard asks, did later evangelists invent Joseph, drawing from the well-known and highly reverenced ethical example of the Joseph found in the book of Genesis, a great Israelite hero later enhanced by Hellenistic Semitic literature? Could this biblical Joseph have served as the model for the transmitters of the early Jesus tradition? Van Aard argues convincingly it did. Did these third-wave Jesus group writers, like Matthew, invent the New Testament Joseph based on this ancient Israelite hero? The anonymous authors of the Gospels called Matthew, Luke, and John were Hellenized Israelites, all who knew well the Israelite Joseph tradition. They found themselves, like other Jesus group people living from 70 to 135 Common Era, involved in heated controversies with fellow Israelites about Jesus' illegitimacy. Could they have counteracted the position widely held by enemies to the Jesus group that Jesus was a bastard by positioning Jesus to be the son of Joseph, the son of Jacob? Look at how the Gospel called Mark begins. No Annunciation, no angels, no Joseph, no Bethlehem. Instead, we start off with the adult Jesus being baptized, where he is declared son. Right off the bat in the Gospel called Mark, Jesus is declared legitimate by God. Who's going to refute that? Why no Christmas stories in Mark? Simple. They hadn't been invented yet. Whether Joseph historically existed or not, the historical Jesus probably grew up without a father playing a significant role in his life. His fellow peasants imagined Jesus to be a bastard. No one in the Galilee would hail Mary as a holy woman. Van Aard argues that Jesus was baptized and joined John the Baptist's political religious movement probably to deal with some perceived sinful sickness Jesus had, namely his lowly social status, his condition as bastard, and that needed to be addressed and healed. The closest thing to Christmas stories we get in Mark is Jesus' baptism. Why would the historical Jesus want to be dunked by John the prophet, who, by the way, wasn't historically related to Jesus? Luke makes that detail up later. Whether or not there was a historical Joseph, if the historical Jesus was perceived to be a fatherless child, this unfortunate relationship with his family might provide us with probable clues. Moreover, Jesus' troubling and shameful origins may provide insight about his relationship with his family and his fellow peasant villagers in Nazareth. What could it reveal about his vision of God as Father or Mediterranean patron? Or his vision notably of children and of other so-called nothing people from his society? Given this backdrop, an altogether different portrait of Jesus' initial activity emerges. Imagine the peasant Jesus suffering the sin of being a bastard. Remember that sin in the Bible is not the later theologically evolved understanding of sin many Christians have today. Sin in the Bible is the act that shames or dishonors God. To be a bastard and be an Israelite is to be the living embodiment of sin, of shame, of dishonor to God. He moves away from his home village, trapped in a strained relationship with relatives who are burdened by his existence as shameful bastard and embarrassment. There, in alternate reality, Jesus experiences healing and commissioning in a homecoming into God's kingdom. Through his altered state of consciousness experienced at his baptism, Jesus probably encountered the reality created by the Spirit of God, which developed his perception of the care of a sky vault patron who accepted him as beloved. And the historical Jesus, now commissioned shamanic healer, both attested to and lived out this reality. Through the stories of associates and later writings of their followers, Jesus became the icon of God's forgiveness of sin and providential care.